No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
Pow day.
Dude, let's go.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Happy Monday, Bronco Nation. Welcome on into a live edition of Bronco Nation News here at BroncoNationNews.com. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on X. We're everywhere thanks to our title sponsor, Andy Rowe and RowPaint.com. Make sure you hit up ROEPaint.com. All your painting needs, whether it's those concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting, all your painting needs. Our title sponsor is Andy Rowe and RowPaint.com. And Mike Prater sporting his RowPaint.com hat today. They're in the RowPaint.com studios at KTIK. Mike, get some news today on the Pac-12 deal. Going to talk a little Stacy Collins on special teams. I know you were hanging out with Maddox Madsen yesterday, so a lot going on today. And as always on a Monday, we missed you last Monday. Excited to have you back.
Oh, it's always good to go on vacation, and it's always good to come back with news and a lot of stuff that's going on. And yeah, it was cool to hang out with Maddox yesterday. We can talk about that a little bit. And I know you had the news this morning with CBS and the new Pac-12 and all kinds of fun stuff. We'll dive into those details. So there's a lot of juice. There's a lot of mojo on a Monday morning. Let's get after it. Come on, let's go.
We're only 3 or 4 weeks away now from Mountain West Media Days. That's getting closer and closer. And so this long, slow, what we thought would be summer is never the case. Next thing you know, football season is here before we know it. And this is a Blue and Orange Store Monday. So thanks again to Travis Hawks and Company. Blue and Orange Store, now the official in-venue provider of all your Boise State merchandise. Make sure you hit up Travis Hawks and Company at the Blue and Orange Store online. You can order anywhere in the world, theblueandorangestore.com, or just check them out there. The next to Pro Image on the second floor of the mall there, their store, and the clearance rack there is the best value in town. So the Blue and Orange Store, our Monday sponsor here at BNN. And the chat is alive and well. And no, it's not because Mike Prater is back from vacation. It is because of the news of the day with the Pac-12. Our first comment here, Pac-12 is a disaster right away as our first comment. So they're already coming in full force today, Mike Prater. But the news of the day, the Pac-12 and has signed a deal with CBS Sports. You see on the screen there the particulars of the deal. Look at that camera work and editing there to get that on the screen. And the primary long-term media partner is what they're calling it, Mike Prater. The primary long-term media provider. And so there's more to come. This is the first of what's going to probably be several deals, Mike Prater, but the particulars include CBS Sports getting the football championship game, getting the men's basketball championship game, getting a minimum of 3 regular season football and 3 regular season men's basketball, and that's on big CBS. Obviously, Gonzaga coming to the league, I think, and CBS having a chance to get some Gonzaga basketball games probably played into the basketball part of this, but and then getting the chance for some Boise State, national CBS football games. So they're playing to their big brands here. 3 minimum football, 3 minimum basketball, and that is on national CBS, also streaming on Paramount Plus, and then some regular season football and regular season men's basketball games on the CBS Sports Network. It says the particulars of that portion of the deal will be announced at a later date. But before we kind of dive into this, your initial thoughts, Mike Prater, on the Pac-12 making CBS Sports its primary long-term media partner.
Well, first of all, I thank you, and I thank our good friends listening and sending in text messages to get me back in the mood right after the bat. And the Pac-12 is a disaster. I love the way some of these people think, and bring it on, guys. Let's talk about the details. Let's talk about your thoughts. I think it's a strong start. I think it's a really good start. And I don't know what people are expecting. And anybody that thinks that this is a disastrous decision or the doom and gloom of the Pac-12, you guys just don't get it. Where do you want them to be? I mean, they're not the SEC. They're not the Big Ten. They're not going to be on ESPN at 1 o'clock or CBS Sports at 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. Although CBS Sports at 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon is now more realistic than ever before. They get more CBS Sports, big boy CBS Sports inventory than I remember in a long time, if ever, including 3 basketball games and 3 football games, the 2 championship games. Come on, guys. CBS Sports Network isn't the greatest, but it's not that bad. If you're a Washington State or an Oregon State fan, and I know that's not the case, the strong case here in Boise, Idaho, you're going to get, 5, 6, 7, 8 times the exposure you were getting on that old ridiculous Pac-12 network. So that's definitely an improvement for them. And I think it's a great start. And this is going to branch out into a million different areas. The money's not going to be great. The inventory is not going to be great, but I think this is one hell of a good start. I really do.
And when you look at the current Mountain West deal, Mike Prater, with CBS, with Fox, the CBS deal with the Mountain West was for 3 regular season games to be on national CBS, and then to have the basketball championship game on CBS, and I believe 3 regular season basketball games to be on CBS as well. So from a Mountain West to Pac-12 standpoint, the basketball portion of this is exactly what it was before. The regular season football is exactly what it was before, and I believe, unless I'm reading it wrong, the only change is the championship game just goes from Big Fox to Big CBS, and you could argue, is that better, worse, whatever? It depends on the timing. I mean, there was a time when I first moved out here, Mike Prater, in the early 2013, 2014, when they added that championship game for football, that it started on national CBS. But I remember one year it was like at 8:30 at night, after the SEC night game. So it was that late night spot. One of the years, I don't remember the other time frames. I don't remember how many years it was on there, but it was on CBS for a couple of years there back in the day. But I don't remember it getting, prime. It was kind of a throw in. We'll play it at late at night, but it wasn't really prime spot. And so I see this as the exact same, if not better, and it is going to be better, but because this is only the first partner, and they're still going to have other national games probably on Fox or on ESPN or whatever else is coming next. But it's very similar to what the Mountain West had in terms of the 3 games and the championship game. The championship game for basketball staying on CBS, I think, is a big deal. That's obviously, when it comes to March Madness and things, CBS is the main network when it comes to that. And then the football game, I guess you could argue what's better, Mike, Big Fox or Big CBS for the football championship. But otherwise, it's not. I mean, this is a nice start, but it's no worse, and I think it's better than what the Mountain West had in terms of their deal with CBS and Fox.
Yeah, and if you're playing the competitive game too, this probably puts a big old stake in the Mountain West in its plans. I mean, if the new Pac-12 is picking up all the CBS inventory that the Mountain West has had in the past, that's a blow against the Mountain West. So I guess strike one up for the Pac-12 if you're keeping score there. The CBS versus Fox in terms of the national football or the conference championship game in football. I I do like Fox, especially based on what happened last year when the big noon kickoff crew came here for that. It was such a surreal moment inside that stadium. I do like the Friday night time slot for the Mountain West or for the new Pac-12 championship game. I kind of like that. I guess I don't hate the late Saturday night thing after a CBS or Big Ten or whatever kind of combo they come up with. So I'm not too much worried about those details. I really am not. Don't forget, guys, the drivers of all this have been the Oregon States and the Washington States of the world and their leadership group and their athletic departments. And they've said one thing over and over and over again, and especially for people who are thinking about the money and what's coming next with the money. They're not worried about the money factor. The money factor is going to be fine. It's not going to be great. It's not going to be life-changing. It's not going to be terrible. They're worried about exposure, and they want eyeballs. And if their first salvo when it comes to this new media rights package is CBS Sports, big boy CBS Sports, that's eyeballs. That's some serious eyeballs. So mission accomplished if that's what they've been saying. And that's exactly what they've been saying for the last year. We want more exposure than we care about the money. So far today, they got a lot of exposure.
I know a lot of people are on the chat talking about Paramount Plus. Nothing in this deal does it say that any games are only going to be on Paramount Plus. Could that eventually come from this? I don't know if Paramount Plus does any kind of live sports right now to begin with. I guess that could be a secondary part of this deal. But again, Paramount Plus is no worse than Mountain West Network or whatever anyway. So, but they don't.
I mean, why are we still bitching about streaming? Seriously, guys? I mean, really? I don't be the negative guy right off the bat on a Monday, but 3 years ago when they put an NFL game and it was streaming, okay, then we can have a conversation. Are we really still having conversations about streaming? Come on. In 2 to 4 years, guys, it's going to be all streaming and it's going to be all that kind of an issue. So stop worrying about $5 here, $4 there. And it's not really about the money, but people still bitch about streaming. Are you kidding me?
They do. Texas Bronco, we'll go to some comments here on the chat, Mike. The ICCU YouTube chat, Texas Bronco says, hope the CBS deal requires the telecast crew to be in the actual stadium or arena, not watching and telecasting from a studio someplace. That was never an issue with CBS. That's actually a Fox thing. CBS always sent their reporters to the game, so I don't think you have to worry about that. That was a big deal. Still is with Fox, but not with CBS. Ben saying, didn't see this coming with CBS. I guess you can never get wrapped up with those sources. I want a better broadcast from CBS. CBS Sports Network is below average. What this does to the Mountain West probably hurts them, though. So they're with you there on, maybe now the three, maybe they don't want Pac-12 and Mountain West regular season games, and they just chose this one over the other. Too early to declare whether this is good or not. It all comes down if we get ESPN involved or not. If you don't, then Gould might as well see herself out the door. Blake saying
ridiculous.
Boo CBS is what Blake says. Derek says 3 guaranteed football games plus the conference title game on CBS. Gotta guess 2 to 4 of those are going to feature Boise State on 100%. The football side. Let's see what else here. Do we know if this deal includes standard CBS or CBS Sports? So the 3 national games and the championship game is national CBS. You're guaranteed on your KBOI 2 here in Boise to get the football championship game and at least 3. It does say 3 plus. Now we know we're not kidding ourselves. It probably is 3, but it says 3 plus. A minimum of 3 will air on the national. Now in the past, national CBS, and in the past they would use one of those for like an Air Force Commanders game. One of those would maybe be a Boise State game. Now isn't the Boise State Utah State game, I believe on Black Friday this year, is on national CBS. So I would assume on the football side, yes, CBS, you're probably getting, you look at the brands on the football side, Mike Prater, CBS didn't do this so they could air a Fresno State football game. No disrespect intended. I would assume of the 3 regular season games, I would suspect for sure 1 and probably at least 2 of the 3 would involve Boise State. And remember, these are home games. These TV deals are controlled by the home team. So if these are non-conference games, it's the home game. So there may be a San Diego State or Oregon State or Washington State kind of non-conference game, maybe the Apple Cup, Mike Prater, or one of those kind of games that they might pick up on CBS. But I would suspect on the football side, you're for sure getting 1 of the 3 and maybe 2 involving Boise State plus the championship game. And I do think on the basketball side, 3 regular season games, and they've been doing that. Remember, Boise State has played a couple national CBS games against San Diego State. There was a San Diego State, New Mexico game last year on a Saturday. So they've aired, I think, 3 at least national CBS games already, but a couple of those have included Boise State as well, but I would think Gonzaga is a big drive, and San Diego State, but certainly Gonzaga is a driving force there, where national CBS is like, okay, we can now get Gonzaga on national CBS on a Saturday afternoon. Like that's a big deal. So I would suspect that's a part there. But yes, it's 3+ on the national big boy over the air. I don't even know if they call it over the air, rabbit ears, whatever you need these days. CBS 2 here in Boise. You get 3 football, 3 basketball, and then there will be additional games, which there wasn't, for the Mountain West. They have a Mountain West package on CBS Sports Network where they air all of Boise State's Mountain West road games have traditionally aired on CBS Sports Network pretty much over the last several years. And so that could continue. And then there'll be some men's basketball games. We don't know how many of those, Mike, or you mentioned there's no financial details either. It just says more details on that part of it will be announced at a later date. But there will be some CBS Sports Network games involved in this. But the big thing is both championships and at least 3. So you're talking 8 games, minimum 8 games on national CBS involving the Pac-12.
Yeah, and that's a direct product or the direct example of the product that the new Pac-12 has built in terms of the marquee, the flagship marquee programs within this brand new conference starting in 2026. As you said, we know a lot of those football games are going to involve Boise State, and that's attractive to CBS. A lot of those basketball games are going to involve Boise State, San Diego State, and Gonzaga, obviously, and that's attractive to CBS Sports, especially the Gonzaga. So if you got like a Boise State in football and you got a Gonzaga in basketball, you're going to attract stuff like CBS Sports, and they're never going to get away from the CBS Sports networks. And I understand that there's some limitations with CBS Sports Network, but I'm okay with that, guys. If I'm looking for a random Utah State versus Fresno State football game that's being played on a Friday night, I don't care where it is. I'll find it. In this day and age, you can find anything. It's pretty simple to find these kinds of products. I know that there's a tight time window when it comes to CBS Sports, but that is not exclusive to CBS Sports Network. All these networks trying to cram 3.5-hour games into a 3-hour television window because that's just what the industry does, and it drives everybody crazy. So I get all that. So CBS Sports Network isn't that bad. I can only imagine if we're getting this kind of angst, BJ, from CBS Sports and the nice little flag that they threw the new Pac-12 today. Can you imagine here in the next couple of weeks when we get the CW press release, how the fans are going to be restless about that sucker? So because there is no brand exposure with the CW, although I think the CW is better than people think, and we've all been talking about that for the last couple of months. One of the only networks out there that has 100% household distribution in the United States of America. Again, going back to what Washington State and Oregon State, the drivers of this engine have said, we want exposure. We're not going to fight over $1 million here and $1 million there because they're in a $75 million a year business. They want the exposure, and I agree with that. As much exposure as possible, and this is a good start, and I think they're going to get off to a better start or even continue this start down the road. Hopefully there's a little ESPN. Hopefully there's some CW, maybe a little bit of Fox. We'll see what those details look like.
Now, I don't know about your sources saying CW, but Nate Staley says second piece of this deal will be streaming on Fubo TV or the CW2. Is what
they're all negative today. Everybody's fired up and negative today. So I don't get the angst, but we're just talking to a couple of, well, I'm going to be nice. I just got back from vacation. I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to call them idiots in their basement, but guys, I promise you, this is a pretty good deal. And it's just the start. It's going to be multi-layered. I can't wait to see if there's a separate little basketball element in this from one of the new coming networks. And I think that there's going to be some money involved there. So, and the money we're talking about here, the important thing to remember is we compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges when they have finally announced the money stuff here. Boise State right now is making this past athletic season is about $5.2 million in just media rights money. I'm not talking about sponsorship money, NCAA units, all that other stuff in terms of revenue sharing. The media rights money. Boise State's getting $5.2 million this past season. It might go up a couple $100,000 this season. And by the time it rolls around and becomes official starting in 2026, it might be $8 to $10 million, which is a nice bump. That's almost double. But I see people out there talking about $10 to $14 million. That's not happening, guys. And so when $8 to $10 million comes out, don't be disappointed. I think that's actually a fairly decent number.
All right, plenty still to get to on this CBS Sports deal, the Pac-12, and some of the particulars here. We're going to keep taking your comments on the ICCU YouTube chat. We also have a discussion planned on the special teams and Stacy Collins and what they can do to get things turned around this year, and we'll do all of that here as we continue on a live Monday edition of Bronco Nation News. But we couldn't do this without our title sponsor, and that includes Andy Rowe and RowePaint.com. All your painting needs, whether it's those concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting, make sure you hit up our title sponsor. That's Andy Rowe and RowePaint.com. TacoBellWorks.com is the website for the Nicolason family, the SON Management Group. If you want information on their history, their storied history, starting and running Taco Bell franchises in the Northwest, you can do that online. You can get more information to apply for a job online as well, or find out about their 40-plus locations in and around the Treasure Valley and beyond. TacoBellWorks.com. Visit a Treasure Valley at Taco Bell location today. Hey, Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest is that mobile e-branch online banking right there in your smartphone. Idaho Central Credit Union. Moving money around has never been easier. You may think you're like your banking experience. I can promise you, you can ask Mike Prater, you can ask Jay Tuss, you can ask me. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. Make the switch today. You will not regret it. Hey, Roaring Springs is back open today after being closed for the weekend due to the cold temperatures. It was pretty crazy in the 70s. I'm wearing a sweatshirt yesterday in mid-June. It was crazy weather. Roaring Springs back open today, and thanks to Jackson's and Extra Mile, you can save up to $32 on 4 tickets when you buy 2 Coca-Cola products at Jackson's or Extra Mile. That's right. Go into Jackson's or Extra Mile, purchase 2 Coca-Cola products, and they'll give you a little voucher. You take that to Roaring Springs, you get $8 off a ticket, and you can use that up to 4 times for savings at $32 at Roaring Springs. And that's from our friends at Jackson's and Extra Mile. Hey, Snake River Pool and Spa, Patio and Game, thespateam.com, locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. They've been around since 1978. They're part of the Boise State home team. They're just a great company. They do great work, and we're very happy with the Rains family with our spa, and you can as well, whether maybe it's a pool table, though, you want for the game room, or a sauna. They got you covered. You can check out all their inventory at their 4 locations. Love that Meridian location, or just go online to thespateam.com. All right, Mike, as we continue the discussion here, the comments continue to roll in on this topic. Folks saying they would love to see CBS feature a 9 or 10 p.m. Eastern kickoff on Saturdays and bring back Pac-12 After Dark.
I don't know if that's going to happen on a regular basis. I think there might be some possibilities for like Fox and ESPN to do a Pac-12 After Dark on a Thursday, Pac-12 After Dark on a Friday. I've even heard, and I don't know how valid these rumors are. There was definitely some talk about even doing something like on Prime on Thursday night after the Kirk Herbstreit, Al Michaels NFL game, doing some kind of Pac-12 After Dark on Prime with a NFL new Pac-12 doubleheader. I know that would start really, really late and probably really suck, and maybe that's why we haven't heard a little bit more details coming out of that deal, but I still think that there could be. It probably won't be a CBS thing on a Saturday night, though, I'm guessing, and right now we don't know. I'm just guessing that probably wouldn't be the case on a Saturday night on CBS Sports.
Yeah, somebody says here, found it interesting and only applies for one more full membership school. Blake, what they mean by that is the release was sent out by the Pac-12, and they were showing some numbers for TV viewership over the last couple of years and how well the teams have done. And it says, note, the Pac-12 will add at least one more football-playing all-sport member to begin with the 26-27 season, not reflected in the figures and highlights above. So it's basically saying, here's our numbers. They'll be even better once we add somebody else, Mike. And so that's kind of the next domino to fall in all of this, Mike, that we'll kind of maybe get to here in a few minutes. But obviously now that the TV deals are starting to come out, now they can start to, officially, I mean, they've been talking to people, but maybe officially, invite that 8th member. I mean, we'll see who that ends up being. John Canzano, by the way, shout out to him. He was actually first to report this morning, and he's got some interesting nuggets in his article. You can read it at johncanzano.com. And he asked, I guess he was kind of tackling, Mike, why they're doing this kind of one TV deal at a time here instead of just coming out with the big, release and money and all that at once. And he said it could be as simple as, the other ones aren't done yet. It could be that the Pac-12 wants to finish the mediation with the Mountain West before they put too much publicly in terms of their numbers and things out there moving forward. He said also that, there's some restless Pac-12 fans out there, and the conference motivated to kind of give them just some good news and any kind of news and nuggets they could get out there. So obviously there's plenty more to go. I do think, we saw the deals that they made, Mike, with for the 2025 season, and it's of note that in this release it says, the Pac-12 is extending its partnership. It was a 1-year 2025 thing, which led to this bigger, 6-year deal. They did have a deal with ESPN, though, for a couple of games for the 2025 season. So you would think and hope, and I've been pretty vocal that I do think the ESPN needs to be involved in this, and whether that is a just once a week Friday night Pac-12 slot on ESPN, or whether it's, a multi-time slot games or what. But I do think it would help and benefit just because of how involved ESPN is with the college football playoff and how much they talk about it on College Game Day and how little they've talked about at Boise State in recent years just because they don't air any of their games. Like they're going to promote the games that they have on their networks. It is what it is. And so I've been pretty vocal, and I would expect, though, Mike, and again, maybe I'll be wrong. We'll find it out. But we see they had the deal with CBS. It led to something bigger. I would fully expect somehow, some way, ESPN's going to be involved in this.
Yeah, I probably would be just a little bit shy of fully expect. I fully hope, I fully want, I fully plan. I think I expect ESPN to be involved. I'm not sure ESPN and Fox can be involved. And I think Fox has been pretty good to the Boise States and the Mountain West of the world. I know we're trying to move on to a different era, and you're not wrong. I mean, the ESPN factor, if we're talking about a couple of games on Fox or a Friday night spot on Fox, I would definitely rather have the ESPN connection. It's important. The branding is still there. Boise State plays on ESPN, opens up its brand new season this year on ESPN, and I know that gets the fans excited. So, yeah, it'd be nice if ESPN – but if it's not ESPN and it ends up being Fox and it's the same kind of details, a Friday night Pac-12 after dark kind of game and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, I'm okay with that. But yeah, ideally it would be awesome. And there's been some leaks out there, and we don't know how credible that information is, but there's been some talk about ESPN being involved on a limited basis. They were never going to be the primary factor. I don't understand some of the angst today and what people were expecting in terms of the news. Were they expecting just this big giant ESPN, we're going to give you $20 million a year announcement? Guys, it's not going to work that way. The college football and the college basketball world has passed the new Pac-12s by, and they're focusing on the Power Four, and everybody else is kind of scratching and clawing for every little bit that they can. And I thought today was a pretty good start to that every little bit that they can. We'll see how it turns out. But you're right. I mean, it would be really cool if there was an ESPN layer to this package.
BSU Bill saying none of this matters till we know about ESPN or not. Would also love to see TNT in there for some basketball games. It's Keaton saying TNT would be a huge win. They might have a little money to spend after losing their NBA partnership. Let's see what else we got here. I agree. It's a great start. Drew Nixon says the big domino will be what teams are going to be added this summer.
That's not going to be a big domino, and there's not going to be any multiple teams. It's going to be singular. I suspect it's going to be Texas State. I suspect we might get that news this week. That's not based on any kind of reporting whatsoever, other than the fact that the July 1st deadline is coming up for them and membership. They go from $5 million to $10 million in terms of an exit fee if they don't depart by July 1st. We've seen that anything is possible, anything is negotiable, anything is a gray area in this day and age. So there's no absolutes and black and whites, but I suspect it'll be one team. I suspect it'll be Texas State, and I think there's a chance it could happen this week.
And I mean, I will say this too. I know what the goals were for the Pac-12, and they obviously had cast big nets and had big goals of Memphis and all these schools, Mike Prater. But you look up there on the screen right now at the logos of the teams that are in this thing, and you've got Gonzaga, you've got San Diego State, you've got Boise State, you've got even from a national brand, Oregon State, Washington State, like Colorado State, Fresno, like Utah State, like. That's not some embarrassing conference when you look at those names there. There's some national brands. Is it the Pac-12 we all hoped? I mean, I would still love somehow, some way to get Memphis, at least on a football basis or a football and basketball basis, into this league. Is Texas State, in my opinion, underwhelming as the 8th school? Yes. It's not, in my opinion. I wish they would have done better. I know you're betting on them long-term, 5 years from now, whatever. I get it. But no one's arguing that right now Texas State is a sexier name than even a UNLV or even a I don't remember which day you were on, Mike Prater, but last week people were saying who would you rather have come next, Nevada or Texas State coming to Albertson Stadium. So I mean, there's right now Texas State is not some sexy great addition. I understand that, but if that is the 8th team, like you look at the logos of the schools that are up there right now, this was it as good as it could have been, or that we were all maybe hoping or led to believe it might be when they cast this big net, a year ago, Mike? Probably not. But is this a very formidable conference that at worst will be the top group of 6 conference out there pretty much on a yearly basis, I think that's fairly easy to say.
100% agree. 100% agree. And, I think Memphis was always kind of a long shot and still maybe mathematically alive, but I've kind of moved on myself personally from the Memphis bandwagon. Memphis football doesn't do squat for me. To me, it's almost as, and I think Memphis doesn't Boise State and Memphis play next year, and maybe even at Albertson Stadium. And in 2026, I almost think that they do. And nobody's going to get excited about that game, just like nobody would get excited about Texas State. When it comes to Texas State, and I'm not going to be a cheerleader or a bandwagon guy when it comes to Texas State, but comparing Texas State to Nevada is gross, because Nevada, we've been there. We've done that. And there's a reason why that those logos that you just talked about across the screen here are moving on, because they're tired of the dead weight. They're tired of athletic departments not investing in their future. They're tired of athletic departments not spending and being creative at an aggressive level like Boise State is. And Texas State and their president at Texas State, they're spending millions. They've probably spent more money in the last 6 weeks than the Nevada football program has spent in the last 6 years. That's dead weight. That's not changing. That's not going to change the environment. Will Texas State change the environment today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year? No. But 3 to 5 years from now, they could be a power, just kind of like Boise State coming out of the blue, out of nowhere. You invest, you have the resources, you have a foundation, you have a culture, and you go out there and take care of business. I think there's a chance that Texas State could grow. It's not going to be sexy now, but I think it's going to be a decent addition down the road. I don't know if UNLV was ever a likely factor. I think there's a lot of risk and reward taking UNLV. You can still own Las Vegas. You can still be a presence in Las Vegas without making them the athletic department within your team or within your conference. Because I don't know if I believe in the UNLV athletic department. I don't get it. And then Memphis basketball, Memphis football, that's not as sexy as people think. So again, guys, the new Pac-12 is fighting for scraps when it comes to TV people, when it comes to money, and when it comes to new membership. And I think so far, based on what's out there, the realistic stuff that's out there, I think they're making good decisions.
Crash says simply preach, Prater. So you got at least one person on your side there. Let's see. Drew says, hey, Mike, we're all poor and don't want to pay for all the different streaming services. Let us complain.
$6 a year for and you have to do it twice, guys. I mean, come on. And most people have Paramount Sports and, $6 a year. Or what? I don't know. I guess it's $6 a month. I don't know. Most of us have those kinds of stuff, especially if you're a sports guy. Stop bitching about streaming service, guys. It's not going away, and it's only going to happen more. So we're going to have to just reinvest. I guarantee you the same people that bitch about spending $6.99 a month to watch television are the same people that go to Jackson's and drop $6 on a Diet Coke. Come on, guys. It's not that crazy. Be a little bit more smart about it. Be a little bit more realistic about the future. And the future is streaming and sports, and it's not going away. So stop bitching about it.
Adam says, do we know if the Pac-12 championship game will be played on a neutral site? And I will say this. I have heard there's discussions of that. I'll just say that. And I actually don't hate that idea, given the fact that I think we could all guess where it would be, Las Vegas. I know it would not be a great ticket sales type thing, but that's not a ticket. You don't do that to sell tickets. You do it to sell sponsorships and get a sponsor. And if you already know it's on CBS, you can now go tell some sponsor that you can be the title sponsor of this game and have it be on CBS from Allegiant Stadium, whether they sell 10,000 tickets or 50. I know the previous Pac-12, Mike, struggled with it. They had a neutral site game, but they struggled obviously to sell tickets for it just because the teams that were usually in it were getting ready for the Rose Bowl or whatever other game they had coming up, and people didn't want to travel. But if they were to have a neutral game and it was in Las Vegas, would it have been the great sold-out crowd we had at Albertson Stadium and the magical night there? No, but could you argue a neutral site game could bring in more money or more whatever down the road? I don't know, but I for one, I get fans probably want, especially here in Boise, would rather have it be a home game, more of an advantage, all that stuff. I get it, but if it comes out that it's a neutral site game in Las Vegas, I for one would be just fine with that.
Yeah, and that's well said, and I agree with that. I think I would prefer the campus stuff only because I'm sitting here in Boise, Idaho, knowing that 3 to 4 times out of every 5 years it's going to be in Boise, Idaho, and I think that that's important, and we all just still are in love with the atmosphere of what we saw last year, and if you could put that in a bottle and save it till the end of time, I'm going to break that sucker out every single year and get goosebumps. But if the alternative is Vegas and it means maybe a little bit more financial footing, it always feels better when it's not on campus. even though you get into that 3 to 4 hour window when it's on campus and you get all excited. But I'm good either way. I'll wait on the details. I'm not too much stuck on that part of it all. I think they'll figure that part out, and I think it'll be just fine. It'll probably be one of those two options, and I think whatever they come up with, either one of those options would be fine.
If it's neutral, I'm guessing it would be in Vegas. I don't think they would go to San Francisco again or one of those kind of cities. Vegas seems the spot. And I know it wasn't neutral 2 years ago when UNLV hosted Boise State in the championship 2 years ago, but it felt, it felt like a big time game being in Allegiant Stadium. I'll just say that. You put that thing in Allegiant Stadium. I know it was half empty. There were a ton of Boise State fans that went down there for that. And maybe if you're a Boise State fan, you just start planning now or whatever we're just assuming Boise State's going to be in that championship game, and we're planning a trip to Vegas in early December, and that becomes a thing. But I will say that it felt bigger from a neutral standpoint being at Allegiant Stadium 2 years ago when it was the championship game, and it just felt it had that big time feel. Now, yeah, with the big noon kickoff crew and the sold out crowd and that night nobody will ever forget, that felt as big as it gets as well in Boise, Idaho last October. So or last December. So I get both sides of that part of it. But this is one portion of the deal, Mike, and then it leads to more. I would assume you're right that in some capacity the CW would probably be involved in this. And then, is it, this probably takes Fox out of the running, right? I would assume Fox now maybe links with the Mountain West.
Probably that's kind of where I would go. Although I think there's still a little bit of a puncher's chance that Fox could, I don't think the new Pac-12 is going to get ESPN and Fox. There's probably still some details to be worked out, but I would imagine Fox is dead, and certainly CBS is dead for the Mountain West. We brought that up earlier in the show, but that's a big blow to the Mountain West. So we'll see how they rebound and what kind of product they come up with when it comes to their television numbers, including the cash.
And so we're thinking, like we said, CW in some capacity, maybe ESPN in some capacity, and then maybe the TNT, or some other kind of fourth one, or maybe like you said, the streaming. I think that'd be awesome. The Amazon thing you brought up there. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities like that, and I do think I know somebody kind of said it in jest or whatever. I don't know on national CBS if you're wanting to do a 10 p.m. Eastern game, but I think if you could, you do have more games in the Pacific time zone and the Mountain time zone than any other conference out there, aside from the Mountain West, obviously. I do think you lean on that. I mean, I think that, is every game need to be starting at 11 p.m. Eastern? No, but if there was even if it was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday package or whatever, where there were teams that every night, if people knew every night of the college football season, they could turn on it at the late night game and there'd be a Pac-12 game going like on some channel somewhere. Even I do think that might be something where, it sucks for the 30,000 fans in that stadium, but for, as you're talking about eyeballs and visibility, to kind of have the Pac-12 take over that late night time slot might not be the worst thing in the world. I do, I don't love the late night games. I get it for our perspective, for fans' perspective. I mean, they're not ideal. Would you rather play the game at 3:30 or 5 o'clock? Like, sure. But that might be one way for them, whether it's one night a week or whether it's one time slot or whether it's 2 nights a week, whatever, Mike, if they were to lean into that would be one way to get some national publicity.
Yeah, and I think Fox, the schedule without ESPN the last couple of years has been a tiny bit more fan-friendly, 5, 6, 7 games as opposed to 8:45 games. And I know that there's still a lot of late-night games, and there always will be out west now, especially even more so moving forward. And that does stink. But, if there was a CBS, if there was a Pac-12 championship football game at 8 o'clock local time, 10 o'clock Eastern time on a Saturday night, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Even if it's Boise State, that's going to get good TV numbers. They're going to see the blue turf. They're going to know the Boise State brand, and it's going to pick up some nice numbers. I don't hate that, but we'll see how it plays out in terms of the championship game. I love the championship game on Friday nights. I think that's really, really special, and frankly, I don't care who covers it, but a 7, 8 o'clock game on a Friday night seems really, really cool to me to play a championship game.
Well, all I'm going to say, Mike, is I love Paramount Plus and love CBS, and I think it's great. I think this is a nice move for the Pac-12 here, and the Mountain West probably is left, like you said, kind of with, I won't say the scraps, but they're probably not getting CBS here, and we'll see what this leads to for the rest of the deal. But it's a nice start. And obviously, we're not going to make our final determinations on their TV package till we hear the money, until we hear what other teams are in it. But to get both championship games on national CBS, 3+ regular season games guaranteed to both, and then others, on the other platforms, this is a nice place to start.
100%. And that's the key word here. A nice place to start. There's plenty of room to grow. There's plenty of room to build. This is what, a 5 or a 6-year contract. I can't remember in terms of the details.
2031 season, I believe.
Takes you through the 231. So the spring of 2031 basketball season is what this takes you to. So, or maybe it's the 31-32 athletic season. I don't know. It's 5-6 year deal, but I think it is a good start with more layers to come, more visibility, more cash, and it's not going to be great. It's not going to be huge. So, settle down on your expectations. This is the new Pac-12, and they're doing all these things for a reason, starting over fresh with a whole brand new deal. And I thought today was a nice way to kick that sucker off.
It is the 2030-2031 athletic season. So they'll go to the spring of 2031, get you through the 2030 football season and into the 2031 basketball season.
Gotcha. So it's a 5-year deal then, it sounds like.
All right, so we're going to quickly discuss special teams here and wrap up the show in just a second, but I want to thank Lithia Ford of Boise. Check them out, lithiafordboise.com. If you buy a used vehicle from Lithia Ford, you can know that it's going to be inspected, dissected, and corrected. You're not going to get a melon or have something that has all these issues. They've taken care of that for you. The Raines family purchased our F-150 used from Lithia Ford of Boise. We've had no problems at all. Pre-owned pride at Lithia Ford of Boise. They take a lot of pride in that, and check them out online at lithiafordboise.com. Hey, Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate, number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. Number 1 ranked realtor yet again. Raines family found that out last year when we bought and sold our home with Matt. So highly recommend him and his team. You can get more information at BauscherRealEstate.com. Ridley's Family Markets. You're looking for that hometown grocery store, friendly staff, great environment, and up to 40% off at the savings at the checkout line when you download that Skip app. Well, that's Ridley's at Family Markets. 13 locations in the state of Idaho. Find one near you at ShopRidley's.com. You're looking for a job? Transportation Compliance Service is hiring. TransCompService.com. They're actually helping companies that are hiring, and they can get you signed up with all your paperwork and everything. Over 75% of the people that try to do it themselves end up going out of business. So Transportation Compliance Service, local company helping out folks all over the world. If you've never thought about the trucking industry, maybe you should. Get more information at TransCompService.com. I know a lot of you are liking some of the stuff you're hearing from Mike Prater. Some of you aren't liking some of the stuff you're hearing from me and Mike Prater. Well, let us know. Leave us a voicemail. Speakpipe.com/BNN. That's right. Speakpipe.com/BNN. Leave us a voicemail on the Signature Roofing voice inbox. Is brought to you by Signature Roofing, online at mysignatureroofing.com. Whether it's a re-roof or repair, an estimate, and inspection, they got you covered at mysignatureroofing.com. Raines family is loving our roof from Signature Roofing, and you can as well at mysignatureroofing.com. All right, Mike, special teams, Stacy Collins. We got 5 minutes when we were going to spend 40 on it, but you can read at BroncoNationNews.com a lot of the numbers, a lot of the, Nathan Carroll went in depth into a lot of this. A lot of the special teams units were not good last year, and we've all talked about it, Mike. They literally lost the Oregon game because they gave up a kick return touchdown and a punt return touchdown. Now you've got potentially a new returner in both units in Malik Sherrod, a kick returner and punt returner. You have a new kicker in Colton Boomer, likely the UCF transfer. You have a new punter. Likely in the, punter from Weber State coming over, Oscar Doyle. So you've got new specialists at both spots. You've got a new returner. We're going to see how they, divide the starters and the playing time elsewhere. But obviously, Stacy Collins was given a lot of money last year, Mike Prater, the highest contract ever for a non-offensive or defensive coordinator to come in and fix the special teams units. They were not great last year. What's your thoughts on him in year 2 here, trying to get these units turned around?
Yeah, without getting too salty, not great. You're being generous. The special teams last year were terrible. They flat out sucked. For the first time in a few years, no all-conference members, production all over the place down, individuals having some of their worst career years ever, the schemes, the player coaching, the one-on-one stuff, the results. I mean, everything about last year in terms of special teams was a disaster. And yeah, that has to start with Stacy Collins, who when he was here in 2021 did the exact opposite. He came back and took a special teams unit and elevated in his first year at Boise State and did a spectacular job to the point where he got himself a gig at Penn State. That's the bad version of this. I don't think anybody realizes the good side of it all. And I was doing a little deep dive myself last night, trying to get back into work mode. Do you realize that this is the first time that Boise State has had back-to-back special teams coaches, the same one in back-to-back seasons since our boy Kent Riddle in 2017 and 18? because then in 19, here comes Lee Marks. In 2020, our old good friend Zach Alley and Winston Venable. In 2021, Stacy Collins pops in. In 2022, who remembers the Kelly Popinga special teams era with DeMario Warren? Then DeMario Warren gets the special teams in 23. DeMario Warren gets demoted in 24. Here comes Stacy Collins to ruin the special teams last year. And then special teams, he comes back this year to be in charge of the special teams. So the fact that there's a back-to-back coaches for the first time in seasons, I think that's a good start because I think Stacy Collins is a good coach. I really, truly do. I have no idea what happened last year because it was bad. Jonah Dalmas and James Ferguson Reynolds were borderline All-Americans coming into the season, and they had some of their worst years ever. I don't get it. The schemes were down. The punt production was down. The kickoff production was down. They couldn't even handle the basic elements of a touchback. Are you kidding me? It got ridiculous. So nothing but skyward up, nothing but better moving forward. Let's see if Stacy Collins really is a good special teams coach. I think we all assume that he is, but he needs to have that 21 magical season in 25 to see if he can get rid of what happened last year.
Bill Connolly with ESPN does his SP Plus rankings. Mike Prater takes kind of like the Ken Pom of football, so to speak, where he just puts a lot of numbers in a hat and gets different things. He had Boise State special teams last year ranked 99th out of 134 teams or whatever. So, I mean, this is a part of the game, Mike Prater. We're back in the heyday at Boise State. Like, they dominated on special teams, and they had, all kinds of fakes and touchdowns. And, I mean, special teams was as big of a part of their success there in part of the early 2000s than offense or defense at times. And so for it to be a negative and to be flat out losing them games, it's just something that Boise State fans over the years haven't been used to.
Yeah, 100%. And it was really, really bad and widespread across the board. I'm glad you remind us about the Oregon game. Not that we're trying to forget it, but it did cost a football game. And the lack of, even putting, no offense to the Cooper Joneses of the world. I don't know why he was back there as their primary returner last year when it came to punts. They tried like 7 or 8 different guys in kick returns. Dylan Riley showed a nice little flash and really kind of gave us a glimpse of what could possibly happen. So it was just really, really weird in terms of how bad the special teams were last year. I'm not sure we really understood how bad they were when we were in the midst of the season, but certainly looking back at it, it was historically bad. With a coach who has a great reputation, Stacy Collins, just like DeMario Warren a couple years ago, when they took the title away from him. I'm not going to quite say that Stacy Collins is on the clock and needs to perform this year because I think he's got a little bit more credibility and cachet than that. But he's definitely on the clock for me in terms of what he can do. Special teams have to take a significant improvement this coming season, or I'm going to have a lot of red flags when it comes to Coach Collins.
I'm going to have to go back and look. I mean, obviously, Jonah Dalmas has been here since 2020. But in terms of having a new kicker and a new punter in the same year, I don't think that's probably something that Boise State that hasn't happened a lot. Maybe it happens every other year and I just don't remember it. But obviously, you like having your specialists back. To have both of them be new this year certainly leaves some intriguing options there. But I mean, I saw Oscar Doyle at punter. Mike was already from Phil Steele, the third team Mountain West preseason punter. So, they feel, I guess, pretty good about that. They're bringing in guys that have done it. Obviously at the UCF, Colton Boomer has some experience and has done it there. But what do you make of the return game? They had just 3 returns longer than 30 yards last year against FBS opponents, Mike, and then on punt returns, average just 5.6 yards per return. Their longest punt return of last season, 22 yards for Boise State special teams units last year. They did have the 1 kick return touchdown against Utah State. You mentioned Cooper Jones. I know Dylan Riley did a lot of the kick return. I mean, Spencer Danielson, is kind of a throwaway answer at one of those media sessions during spring up there in the recruiting lounge, basically said Malik Sherrod's going to be the kick returner and the punt returner. We'll see what happens, but do you feel Sherrod could help change the return game here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's probably some other stuff up there in terms of the seating chart and in terms of, where these guys are. And I think Malik Sherrod came in and we all thought, okay, they're bringing him in because they have a really good running back room and they're bringing him in to be a special teams guy. But then he goes off in the spring game or the spring camp and plays really well at running back. So we'll see how that plays out. I think Riley has to be in there somewhere. I think even Cam Bates has to be in there somewhere. I don't know if I want one guy being my main guy on both, especially going into the season. I want some options, especially coming after last year. So, Sherrod can do it. There's no doubt about that. What his role is going to be as a running back, that's going to be very, very interesting in terms of moving forward. Is he all of a sudden going from RB1 in the spring to RB3 in the fall because of Breezy Dubar and because of Sire Gaines and some of these other guys? We'll see how that plays out. But I also think that Bates and Riley had some good stuff last year, and I'd like to see him get a couple of chances. So there's some options there. There is no excuse not to make the return game much, much better this year. The kicking game and the punting game, I don't know. You know how I feel about Big Sky transfers. So we'll see. I don't care how good this guy is on paper, and punting is punting. It doesn't matter where you are, but we'll see how good he is. And then the Boomer kid out of UCF, I'm a little bit concerned about that. He only played 4 games last year, had his worst career year. I was coming off ankle surgery. I'm almost positive the ankle surgery was on his plant foot. You can overcome an ankle surgery. It's not going to be devastating. He's going to be perfectly fine, but there's still something to look at there. So I still think there's some red flags with the kicking and the punting. I think the return game is spectacular on paper right now, and the scheme has to be spectacular, but we won't see that until later on this fall.
And shout out to a couple of guys, Troy Wilkie and Bowen Phelps, 2 guys that don't get a lot of love, Mike Prater, but Troy Wilkie and Bowen Phelps both graded out as 2 of the best special teams guys, according to Pro Football Focus. And so, we'll see kind of what they decide to do. Do they go starter heavy? Do they, they've had, we talked to Stacy Collins. He was, borderline embarrassed about the way that it went last year. And so that was a big focus in the offseason, was diving into what went wrong. And I know a lot of times it's one missed tackle, one missed gap that turns a 10-yard return into a 70-yard touchdown. But, that obviously happened too many times last year and too many times in one game last year. So we'll see what happens. I hate to say it like this, but it's hard for the unit to be much worse, Mike Prater. So you would suspect there's going to be some sort of improvement, but how much improvement we'll see. But I do think some fresh blood at returner and kicker and punter and fueling that with a motivated Stacy Collins here in year 2. I'm curious to see just how much improvement there is, but there obviously needs to be a lot of improvement in the special teams.
Yeah, and let's not forget our boy, my man, my guy, the special team star of the year, the number 1 NFL prospect on this football team, our guy Mason Hutton, the long snapper. I think he's back for his 19th year at Boise State. He's the most experienced player, not only maybe on this roster, maybe in the entire conference, just based on where he's coming from. And you know what? He's pretty damn smooth. How often have we talked about Mason Hutton, the long snapper? I think he's got an almost perfect track record. If there's a couple that he missed, I'm sorry. I'm old and maybe my brain wasn't working, but I think Mason Hutton is a steady long snapper. And I think he's a nice quiet force on this football team.
Hey, I know you love sabermetrics and numbers and things, but they actually have Pro Football Focus numbers on long snappers. And believe it or not, Mike Prater, believe it or not, last year he was credited, according to Pro Football Focus in 2024, with 0 bad snaps.
There you go. That's my guy. I love Mason Hutton. Let's make it happen. Come on.
And he was
into the NFL.
He was announced last week as the Phil Steele first team preseason All Mountain West long snapper. I didn't even know they did this thing, but he is, one of the best. It's one of those. I've always said, I think an extra point or like the holder on an extra point is like the most unsung. Everyone just assumes it's going to go right, and it does 99.9% of the time. But the one time it's a bad snap, or the one time the hold is dropped, or the ball's dropped on the hold, and it causes problems, like that's the only time you talk about it. So yeah, shout out Mason Hutton, one of the special teams stars going into the season, and yeah, a big area. We've got it at question. I think this is 16 or 15, but it's certainly one of the bigger storylines on this team. Mike Prater is having to get the special teams turned around here. So appreciate you, Mike, for doing this. Welcome back. I know you'll be all over the media deal today at 3:00, but I know you haven't had your meeting yet, but I'm sure the Pac-12 TV deal and a busy weekend in sports, the NBA Finals being over now. I'm sure you guys will be all over the sports news today here on a Monday on Idaho Sports Talk.
Yeah, looking forward to that CBS conversation. Come on and join us at 5:00. We'll dive deeper into that issue early on in the show. Today it's a historic day at Idaho Sports Talk. We're introducing our brand new 3rd member of our team. We're going to let him on the air today. Some stuff's been leaking out, and I think you guys are kind of figuring out who our big new 3rd wheel here is at Idaho Sports Talk. But he's going to jump on the air today, and we're going to introduce you to the newest member of the Idaho Sports Talk family. Very excited about that, BJ.
3 to 6 today, Idaho Sports Talk, 3 to 6. That's 95.3 FM, 1350 AM, KTIK.com, the KTIK app, And as always, you can get their podcast and listen on demand on the Apple iTunes and podcast app as well. Mike, appreciate you. Sorry, went a few minutes over here, but you missed last week, so I'm calling it even.
All good.
Appreciate you and our partnership with KTIK 95.3. Are we going to see you at the post? Are you a Posty? Are you going to be at the Post Malone concert tomorrow night?
I'll be 100% at the Post Malone concert. I'm a big fan of both Posty and Jelly Roll, and taking the whole damn family. So I had to mortgage the house, and we bought real tickets, and the whole family's going, and fired up and excited for tomorrow night's show.
All right. Well, if I see you at the James beforehand, or if I bump into you at the stadium, the first beer's on BNN there. So
love it.
Appreciate you, Mike. Looking forward to that tomorrow, and we'll be listening today at Idaho Sports Talk. Hope everybody has a great rest of their day. If any additional news breaks, we'll have you covered at BroncoNationNews.com. And I encourage you, go read Nathan Carroll's article on the special teams. Some great numbers there. And I've made that one free of charge for everybody to read at BroncoNationNews.com. So have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. But first, 3 o'clock, Idaho Sports Talk. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bronco Nation News Live, a presentation of our title sponsor, Andy Rowe and RowePaint.com on the Blue and Orange Store Monday. Check them out at blueandorangestore.com. He's Mike Prater. I'm BJ Rains, BroncoNationNews.com.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RowePaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.